now, and you're good to start.
Right. Welcome and thank you for tuning in. This is the third and final reading for the Center of Gravity issue of About Place Journal. I want to acknowledge my co-editors, Gerald Coleman and Orchid Tierney. So thank you all for showing up. It's going to be a great reading, and I'll introduce each reader, and it's going to be a great afternoon. So first, we're going to hear from Rachel Blau Duplessis, who signs her artwork, RBD. She's written extensively on gender, poetry, and poetics. She's the author of numerous books, and her work includes the notable long poem Drafts and the collage poems Graphic Novella Numbers and Life in Handkerchiefs. Her selected poems, 1980 to 2020, was published last year. So please welcome Rachel, and I think we're going to look at her collage poems that were there. Right.
Jeff, thank you for sharing the screen. Jake, sorry. I'm going to read this, and then I'll read one other. It was set in stone. Don't you believe me? Our stone, to catch the enslaved who dared escape. Overstatement was never an effective aesthetic. Now time is not that time, not precisely. That is too extreme. What time is that? What once upon a time? Thereby changing your and the land's configurations and calculi, the default. You didn't think that these claims would have mattered so much? Is that right? You didn't? You didn't think that it might change for the worse with the injection of more ferocity attached to money? Might change yourself as well as them? Well, you are both sealed together in now time. I see that on the screen. This one is a little harder to read. It's a question of the font size. This collage poem has the most astonishing thing that in 2016, the last line was written by me without ever seeing this last line anywhere else. You'll see what I mean. That purple line needs a whole page. My sparrow, says the ancient trembling song from the green and vulval valley, a thread silver water, thrush within singing, writing, smudges, blurs, honey. Testing bountiful marks. A bolus of clots and tinny cans of drink. The thirst remains, and something makes my heart pound, makes my ears roar with sodium, worse than Sappho. It's an uncatalogued and surprising passion I'm feeling. Love of my fading, failing, unnourishing country. I'm unquenchably hungry, thirsty, hidden in the shadow, thoroughly overcome this cold civil war. Thanks.
Oh, thank you so much. It was wonderful to hear those. And I definitely, that line is pretty chilling. Wow, thank you so much. Our next reader is a poet, Evelyn Riley. She's also a scholar and an environmentalist. Her books include Styrofoam, Apocalypso, and Echolocation. She's an essayist as well, and she's a member of the steering committee of the climate activist group 350 NYC. And with all of these authors, I hope you find their websites and learn more about them, because we just have time to have these quick intros. So welcome, Evelyn.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much, Marjorie. I'm just going to leave I'll read sections that were printed in the journal, which are excerpts from a serial poem with the title Sleeping with Trees. The gates to nothingness open 1/8 of an inch each night, framed by trees that grow exuberantly. Among the leaves, blooms of durable insects. A limb reaches out into the emptiness, seeking to make contact, then grasp. You study all this from your bed through your night goggles, the world that continues without us. The drawers of thinking won't close, so overflowing with non-disposables and the ambushes of memory. Nothing put away stays in place. The sound of no longer needed body parts dropping to the ground. You take a tiny rake to clean up this mental landscape, a sort of curator gardener, paying your respects to the wakefulness of trees. Cold, hardworking birds drop out of a sky ghosted with the colors of their disappearance. You lay a torn sweatshirt on the pyre, some poems, an empty container of Roundup. Intone some prophecies based in statistics. Sleeping with moon-enameled branches and silent pulses of missing insects. Spears of cheap pillow down set up a battle in one ear, while the trees persist in their refusal to be individuals, the rhizomes that aid and abet them spread. The ceiling nods in concert with the heads of dried grass rattling open your dream, just as imaginary spring was coming into bloom again. But you live in the age you live. The sound of generations beat down on your head, using it as a drumskin of accusation. All that is broken, broken, broken. Out of the tree cradling plastic, a forecast of sea. Above it, a stellar umbrella unfolds for the 14 billionth time. Somewhere a reckoning ticks, but you aren't listening as you clip the eyebrow hairs that curl down into the eyes of the beloved. The notion of the soul as interiority, what crap tonight. The trees multiply the extensions and extensions of extensions as metallic blankets cover the ankles of sleeping children. The night is loud with the becoming of insects, the silence of plants digesting another day's worth of star material along the fence lines. You get up to clear some space on your desk of doubt, looking for a definition of love you lost somewhere. Chains of ordinary kindness self-perpetuating in thin air, a force that emanates radially. Now creatures free from bilateral being are entangled in a canopy of forest thinking, drenched in the language of rising seas. Octopi and other cephalopods offer such appealing methods of propulsion and perception you are almost carried off by them. But the wind is picking up and you're afraid of losing power. You open the windows to feel the wet unleafing of fixed positions, other planetary sympathies. Snow takes the place of leaves among things that fall inaudibly. All that happens but is unheard. The desire to live inside a picture, streams and mountains, rocks and gorges. This is the aesthetic of detachment. Trees are to landscape as books are to decorating, a poet says, obscene. This is the environmental aesthetic. Another brings your attention to the friends admiring the snow in an era of general depravity, the aesthetic of being together in violent times. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Evelyn. Really powerful, powerful. Next is Gail Folkens, and she'll be sharing some prose, even though there's a lot of poets here. She writes often about her deep roots in the American West, and she teaches in Seattle at the Hugo House. She's the author of the memoir, Light in the Trees and Texas Dance Halls, a Two-Step Circuit. Please welcome Gail.
Well, thank you, Marjorie, and thank you, Jake. I'm going to read from an essay that was in the journal called 6 Stages of Air Quality. And it's about wildfire smoke, and it's written in sections corresponding to the Washington State Air Quality Map. And I'll be reading from what is known as the purple warning, or very unhealthy for everyone. Everyone should stay indoors, avoid all strenuous activity, close windows and doors if it's not too hot, set your AC to recirculate, and use a HEPA air filter if possible. The next day, Mount Si and Rattlesnake Mountain both disappeared. Ashfall speckled our windshields in a gritty seasoning of white, black, brown, an eerie reminder of our trip to the San Juan Islands. Though our dog Theo stayed hopeful, there'd be no walk today either, with particulate levels worsening to very unhealthy for everyone, a purple dot on the state advisory map. In the summer of 2018, the Pacific Northwest experienced the worst air quality in the nation. To keep irritants to my lungs in check, I wore a city-issued N95 mask for my walk to the office. Although I felt self-conscious wearing such a fancy mask for such a short distance, I wasn't the only one masking up. During a lunchtime errand, a coworker and I spotted several people wearing the fiber domes rated for fine particulate and designed to keep the smoke at bay. After work, I hurried Theo, who is a short-snouted dog, was susceptible to his own respiratory issues, outside to do his business in the yard. While he nosed around the shrubs, an everyday sound like a child's shout or a slammed car door pierced the quiet. The moment startled me enough to turn around, but the sound disappeared just as quick, leaving only the sun, fiery red and Mars-like, sinking between our house and the neighbors. A few hours later, I put on my mask to take out the garbage. A tangerine moon replaced the sun, and winter-like ashfall made a poor substitute for snow. We kept our doors shut tight against the opaque sky. Inside, John ran the box fan with a similar-sized filter in front of it. "Where'd you get that?" I asked, admiring his filter find, just as he was curious about the N95 mask. "I've had it," he said. "Maybe I should get a few more masks," I said, not realizing how much of a prized commodity they'd become just a few years later. "Is this how summer is going to be?" John asked. "You can't give a glass half full answer," he said, about the smoke, although he may as well have meant my periodic wheezing. He was right. The asthma I played down as intermittent would be diagnosed as mild yet persistent. The climate change we face had become increasingly relentless, whether we acknowledged it or not. I remembered the green summers growing up here, with poor air quality more apt to show up in winter when people used wood stoves. John and I had traveled from the 100-degree Central Texas summers of John's childhood to the smoky Northwest summers of mine, and I wasn't sure what to tell him. State officials and climate scientists agreed these years, rather than anomalies, were something to prepare for, that even a temperate climate faced air quality in peril. Thank you.
So powerful. So it really makes you feel like what it would be like. So thank you so much for sharing that. Our next reader is Joseph Ross. There you are. My friend who I've never met. Joseph is from Washington, D.C. He teaches English there and creative writing. He's the author of 4 books of poems, including his most recent collection, Raising King. Ache, is that how you say it?
Ache.
Ache. Oh, Ache. Oh,
That's
I
okay.
think you know what? I think I'm getting farsighted. Okay, anyway, sorry about that. Ache, Gospel of Dust, and Meeting Bone. He's been nominated for the Pushcart a number of times, and he's also on the board of the Folger Shakespeare Library in Washington, D.C. Please welcome Joseph Ross.
Thank you. Thank you, Marjorie. Thanks to you and the other editors. Thanks for gathering us today too. And it's wonderful to hear you folks. I've been looking forward to this today. So this is the poem that's in the journal, and then I'm just going to read a couple of short sections of a related poem. In all my education, no teacher or professor ever spoke the name Harriet Tubman. Maybe they feared the sounds would crackle in the complacent air, would charge the oxygen in the classroom, singeing the edges of history books. Or maybe her lawlessness angered them, the anarchy of her hands. Perhaps her inability to read upset their measures of strength and competence. Or it might be that her feminine determination, her constant return, her risks, her breath, always under her own control, was more than they thought we students should imagine. I mean, how could it be that this woman of seizures, this revolutionary in rags, could see so clearly into the bones of America? And here are just a couple of opening short sections from a poem called Flight, which is a praise song for Harriet Tubman. 1. You prepare using all the stubborn ways you know. Since you cannot carry much, your choices taste thin. You keep your plan at the back of your throat. It is wet and dangerous there. Your silence smells like fresh cut wood. The not telling anyone who is not coming, who does not pulse with you and your unseen fury at this noose of land they call their country. 2, you confide in the few and then you hold your breath for the rest of the days. Who can trust when lies can live just beneath the skin of anyone's face? 3, finally, the dusk opens its eyes on your leaving. You want to seize every brittle second of this night to gain a step, a breath. You have come to the end of praying. Tonight, you become the prayer. Thank you.
Oh, I loved hearing those poems. Thank you so much, Joseph. That was beautiful. All right. Oh, Annie Finch is next, coming to us live from Mexico. Annie is a senior fellow with the Black Earth Institute. Her works include Spells, New and Selected Poems, and 5 other books of poetry, books on poetic meter and form, women's poetry, and witchcraft. She's done so many performances, verse plays, collaborations, edited an anthology called Choice of Words, Writers on Abortion. If you want to follow her online, Poetry Witch, easy to find. There's a lot more I could say, but let's hear from Annie.
How to give back to the earth. A spell of transformation, speak it thrice. A spell of transformation, speak it thrice. A spell of transformation, speak it thrice. Death warmed, wrought, loved, tried or true, given, taken, cried anew, spirited as if all flew, everything must move through you. Will you still know what to do? How to use it, bud and root, wield it, grow it, seed and shoot, let it move as part of you? Take this anger back to you, changing mother. Work it through with 9 trillion patient hands till I serve to serve your land. Will you turn these back to you? Cruel injustice, bitter pain, till they're rendered clean again. Take this clear rage into you. Death warmed, wrought, loved, tried or true, given, taken, cried anew, spirited as if all flew, everything must move through you. Death warmed, wrought, loved, tried or true, given, taken, cried anew, spirited as if all flew, everything must move through you. Will you still know what to do, how to use it, bud and root, wield it, grow it, seed and shoot, let it move as part of you, take this anger back to you, changing mother, work it through with 9 trillion patient hands till I serve to serve your land? Will you turn these back to you, cruel injustice, bitter pain, till they're rendered clean again? Take this clear rage into you, death wormed, rot loved, tried or true, given, taken, cried anew, spirited as if all flew, everything must move through you, death warmed, rot loved, tried or true, given, taken, cried anew, spirited as if all flew, everything must move through you. Will you still know what to do, how to use it, bud and root, wield it, grow it, seed and shoot, let it move as part of you, take this anger back to you, changing mother. Work it through with 9 trillion patient hands till we serve to serve your land. Will you turn these back to you, cruel injustice, bitter pain, till they're rendered clean again? Take this clear rage into you, death warmed, rot loved, tried or true, given, taken, cried anew, spirited as if all flew, everything must move through you.
Wow, just that was amazing to hear that. Such a powerful reading. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's such a treat. Next, we have Mildred Chancho Beria, I think. I hope I said that right. Originally from Uganda. Mildred is assistant professor at UNC Asheville. She also coordinates the poetry series at Malaprop's bookstore, which is a great bookstore in Asheville. She's published 3 poetry books, and her 4th poetry collection, The Animals of My Earth School Institute, is coming out this year. Her prose hybrids and poems are published in numerous journals. Please welcome Mildred Chancho Beria.
Thank you. And I'm going to read a revised version of the poem that appeared in the Center of Gravity. Thank you so much for having us. And it's coming out in the collection, The Animals of My Earth School, which will be published in 2 months' time from Terrapin Books. Little Wren, we speak our hope to see you in flight. Grandma says hope has no place where conditions are sunshine. She thrives amidst sorrow and grief, drags her tired feet to a resting nest, and protects our timid hearts with armadillo vests. She summons your courage that rouses our great spirits to dream big and follow you from the old world to the new. Bold in ambition, you fancied a crown, perched on an eagle's tail and flew to the summit to be elected the king of birds. When the eagle approached the throne, how loud you sang and shook for all to see you had won. Long before we had surgeons, your precision kept you alive as you probed into crevices for grub with your slender bill. I love your appetite and belligerence when it suits you. Your voice reminds me of my old Volvo in winter, raw and scratchy, but it never fails to start. With you, Grandma has a mouth of bellows, fanning flames for wounded wings to persist and fight until we get home. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mildred. I was trying to read along on my phone to see what changes you'd made. Anyway, beautiful. Thank you so much. Next, we have Anne Fisher-Worth. And Anne is a senior fellow and board member of the Black Earth Institute. She just retired, I think Linda Spring from the University of Mississippi, where she directed the environmental studies minor and taught in the MFA program. Let's see, it's her 7th book of poems, Paradise is Jagged. Is that out yet? Okay. I was meant to check with you because it said 2023. She has numerous other books and awards, and I'm pretty sure it was last week you got the Governor's Award in the Arts, or am I getting that right?
Yes, that's right.
So that's such a huge honor, and congratulations. So please welcome Ann Fisher-Wirth.
Thanks so much. And thanks for doing this. It's a big job for you, but we all appreciate it. So I'm just going to read one poem, and then there's a little newspaper note that follows the poem. It's called In San Francisco. She got on at Embarcadero, and suddenly she's beside me, stale patchouli in a cloud around her, hair turbaned, wearing a white skirt so long it trails behind her and puddles with the crimson shawl she dangles from her fingers. Slowly she moves through the BART car, muttering, "Got a dollar?" Nearly incomprehensible, nearly snarling. She's pregnant. Her belly glides before my eyes. She swans through the car and then she's gone, riding her queenly madness. She's back again. "Excuse me," she mutters as she circles the man who does not hear her, who also just got on, pushing a shopping cart piled high with his possessions and riding on top a broken boombox, an empty cardboard box perched on its edge. Only his shopping cart holds him up. He's draped around it, right next to me. He's too far gone to talk, and I don't know what to do. If I stand so he can sit, it looks like I'm avoiding him. If I don't stand, he can't sit. Finally, he moves, shoves his cart into a space, sits. The woman across from him gets up. He has the seats to himself and what? Rests, falls asleep, dies. There's a bandage on his ankle, body collapsed, head bent to his chest, hair so long I cannot see his face. Now the woman's back a third time. Her skirt tangles in his cart, and she just stands there, regal, eyes fixed on nothing. 2 of the thousands unhoused, and the baby to come. And the note, 8,035 homeless people were reported in the 2019 count. On May 29th, The Guardian reported the coronavirus pandemic pushed the homelessness crisis that has always existed in San Francisco to a level unseen in recent history, with unhoused individuals left with no other option than to live on the streets. The number of tents increased throughout the city by 71%. In the historically underserved, low-income neighborhood of the Tenderloin, the number exploded by 258%. On August 19th, 2022, the San Francisco Chronicle reported as many as 20,000 people will experience homelessness in the city this year. So thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much. And thank you for reading that note. I wondered if you were going to do that, but
Yes,
it's just it's staggering. It's just staggering. So it's really important.
that's my city. I grew up there.
Oh,
And
you
it's
grew up there.
heartbreaking.
Oh man.
It's heartbreaking to go there and see it.
Yeah. It's just it is staggering. Wow. All right. Wow, we are making good timing. We haven't had any of the technical glitches that we've experienced in the past. So hats off to all the readers here. Our next poet is Allison Palmer, and I have to say I've been reading her work for decades. I knew her, she's from Charleston originally, and I was her mentor when she went to an arts high school. She was writing extraordinary poetry back then. She now lives in the DC area. She's the author of 2 chapbooks and has a new poetry book out, Bargaining with the Fall. She's published in numerous journals, and she's winning all kinds of grants, and her career is just taking off, and it just brings me so much joy to introduce Allison Palmer.
Thank you, Marjorie. Before I read two semi-serious poems, I have to say hi to my nieces who are watching. Hi, Natalie, and hi, Sophia. So these two poems are in a series of 3 that were published in the journal, but I'm just going to read these 2. So the first poem is called When You Can Measure What You Are Speaking About. And they're responding to 9/11. If the towers fell into the East River or Hudson, would I still be here, left to count the days and nights in soul after soul? No, I can't really see them. I try to understand how even these bodies of water would act as concrete, no cupped palms, not a single one. So blame the fire, its heat. The building should have lasted 3 hours. Jet fuel buckled the steel, and when the floors fell, 2,996 stories began. And the series goes from sort of being able to comprehend what happened in numbers, gradually decreasing to where we lose track of the numbers and being able to understand what exactly happened. So the second poem is called When You Cannot Express It in Numbers. How many could run beneath steel and glass with thousands of white pillows on thousands of gurneys, whispering together, "You're like birds now. Your wings aren't broken yet. Through windows go, yes. Collapse the 9 solid building, 95% air, safe implosion. On the plane's impact, sorry, I have a cold. And the plane's impact could have moved the center of gravity 100 feet to the side, but inertia, but nearly nowhere to go, but straight down. Thank you.
Thank you. Really powerful. So great to hear those poems. Thank you, Allison. You sounded great. You didn't sound like you had a cold at all.
I'm sniffling a little bit.
Let's see. Our next reader is Liza Katz Duncan, also a poet. She is widely published and author of the collection Given, which is out this year. Is it already out, Liza? I meant to ask you, or is it forthcoming?
Yes, it is.
Oh, there it is. All right,
It is.
excellent. Okay, hold it up. Yeah. It's great. So I lost my place, but anyway, congratulations, and let's hear your poems.
Thank you so much. I'm going to read the one from the journal and then another one from my book. Driving south, 10 weeks pregnant. Delaware bleeds into Maryland, bleeds into Virginia, into West Virginia, into Virginia again. These nauseating hills, this endless highway, mountained on both sides. If something were to go wrong, if I were to bleed, if I were to need a doctor, these pregnant hilltops straining against the punishing pink sky, clouds spooling and unspooling, how anyone can mistake this country for beautiful. If I couldn't reach a doctor in time, if there were no doctor, if no doctor would see me, how shadows blew the mountains at sunset, how fireflies dot the grass. This one's called Palinode. What if my body is not an apocalypse, not the rising seas or the sinking city or the shifting currents of the Atlantic, not an ocean swallowing what we haven't begun to grieve, What if my body is another kind of water? What if my body is not a misunderstanding with the changing earth, not the smoke gathering above the brush fires, drawing a smog-tattered cloud in all the other animal clouds, not the chemical soil in the soil of other bodies? What if my body is not a metaphor, not a warning cry or the vibration of a sounding board? What if my body is not a story about pain? What if my body is just my body tied to what it knows? Thank you.
Oh, so powerful. And that second poem's from your new book. Wow, thank you. Thank you so much. It was a great reading. Our next reader, I have to find you on the squares here, is Richard Cambridge. And I would say you are a true Renaissance man, Richard Cambridge. He is from Cambridge, Massachusetts. He's a fellow Black Earth Institute Emirati. What does that mean? Like you're a Black Earth Institute fellow. And I got to meet him in Wisconsin in the fall. He's written poetry, novels, does theater productions, always addressing controversial themes in the political landscape. It seems to me he was doing some sort of art pieces that like Bansky in Cambridge, and he actually received the Peace and Justice Award for his art and activism, which I think in Cambridge, Massachusetts is wow. He's now working on a collaboration with a Swiss musician, singer, songwriter named George Henning. So please welcome Richard Cambridge.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to see you all and meet you all and to be part of this gathering and this issue. This poem is from the poetry theater performance, Singing with the Enemy, that addresses the now 63-year blockade of Cuba by our government. But it actually goes all the way back to the presidency of Monroe. Over 200 years ago, we've been trying to possess this island. And I wanted to see if I could figure out, in terms of gravity, a plumb in time, not a plumb in space, of where does this begin, this desire to possess another, and why is this still going on? This is Prelude. Who were the people of this island? Who dwelled here before the invasion? What prophecies were fulfilled? Promises honored? To what gods and goddesses implored? For what forces invoked? For what measure meted out? Line drawn, length walked, depth plumbed? What alchemy of karma was set to boil in time's cauldron for the future generation of children's children to taste this bitter broth, to bring to birth maturity and setting to rest before the scales could be balanced, the cup filled, so it could all begin again, once again, purely. When white becomes black, the Spaniard and Indian, when men become women, when we embrace the one whom we fear, when we taste our brother's seed, our sister's fruit, when our eyes are opened, when we know as we are known, when we get it by heart, then will the human family be joined. Then will we sit down to the marriage feast. Thank you.
I love hearing this work. I mean, you know, I spent a lot of time reading your work, so it's really fun to hear it. Thank you so much, Richard. Let's Let's see, we're doing great on time. Our next reader is Carla Schick. There you are. Award-winning poet. Carla is a queer transformative justice activist and educator, whose work has appeared in numerous places, including the winner of the Barbara Mandingo Kelly Peace Poetry Prize, and many other prizes. And Carla's a member, I'm going to butcher this, the Círculo de los Poetas and Las Chinogas. I don't know how to say it. I wrote a book with an Argentinian and I still don't speak Spanish, so it's very embarrassing, but please welcome Carla Schick.
Hi, thank you. That's fine. I'm going to read the 2 poems in the book, and the first one I'm going to read is War Stories Men Will Never Tell, which was inspired by Eduardo Galeano, and I'm just going to read part of the epigraph, which was, women's bodies were a map of fear. Their bodies are not fears, but maps, esperanzas, destinos. Mothers travel their veins as rivers, sons stolen. Their arms another place of battles, pinpricks on the skin, explosives in the nerves, move to their chests. Sin caras, missing faces of their children, a girl dragged out in the night, a boy turned man, turned soldier, discharges bullets, corazón, heartless. A storm from high mountains, soaked forest, a hut crowded with shivering women. What has been done to their bodies? Jeeps over crooked roads through cities, dress up in business suits. A mother weeps by the warmth of her oven, move down her legs, not running, not quietly creeping around corners. In the shadows, her brain ruptures. Enter her stomach, a home. Watch her grasp her body, fingers kneading her skin to search out where her children were last seen. The last poem, second poem in the journal is Creating Worlds with My Dad, which is a golden shovel from a line from a Patricia Smith poem. The children on our streets of melted tar and bubble gum stole my letters, the ones etched into my brow that Daddy blessed with a toss of a baseball and hit the penny, the way he detested straight lines, his left-handed slant defying borders, his factory floor overheating with 120-degree ovens, trafficking in electric parts, the one offering to war gods or astronomical tracking devices that would look into our eyes as the moon rose, pinpointing my dad coming home at the shifting of light and the quieting of seesaws scraping ground. While my skates got stuck in city sewer slats and my mother's calls through a half-opened first-floor window won't bring me home to watery soups and the table I perfectly set, full belly on bread and eggs and split peas begun with fried onions. And my daddy downed a nightly beer while he fingered the fading print of yesterday's Times because he always insisted, long before I was born, that the news arrived wrong as the liars lying in wait for the money we didn't have much of. So we stood over the kitchen sink, listening to a fuzzy radio tune as he made us maps of his war year journeys through Europe's and forests and towns, while he pushed songs, Count Basie's Drive and Dizzy's trumpet tones, so we can understand the politics of pain, the way ruptured melodies might urge us to insist. Thank you. Thank you very much for this reading.
Powerful, powerful poems. Thank you, Carla. We are making great timing. Our last reader is Hannah Deerdorf. I'm just checking to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Hannah's originally from Spokane, Washington, a recent graduate of the creative writing program at UVA, where she also taught writing and poetry, and her work has appeared in the Worcester Review, Cutbank, Dogwood, and Permafrost. So please welcome Hannah.
Thank you, Marjorie. I'm just going to read 2 double sonnets, and these are from a sequence of sonnets that are about wildfires and climate change in the Pacific Northwest and growing up there in Eastern Washington in Spokane. And these 2 are particularly about me and my sister growing up together. Double sonnet with my shirt off. To assess a fire, define mortality for the forest's basal area, the area in square feet of the cross section at breast height of a single tree. See the tangerine walls bleeding around the mirror where my sister and I compare our teenage breasts, perplexed by these new signs of likeness and difference, the blue-green veins and dusty pink nibbles, the size, the shape, the weight of fat hanging over the rib cage, each breast its own iteration of Earth's atomic speech. Oh, see the women directed to stand beside the pines, their breasts pendulous as plastic bags or firm as rubber, breasts pointing to every star on the compass, breasts purple, pitch, or parakeet green, chests zipped shut with scars, with heavy dashes where breasts once owed the world open, ballooned with milk or held in the mouth of love. Breasts off-centered, oblong, amorphic. Breasts like 2 barely raised dots read by moving the hand across a page. Breasts with faces bent or raised like nuns toward the unseen. Breasts like snipers, their gaze level, each nipple an eye, a scope through which the body aims. See the foresters mark where the tissue meets the rash red bark. See the machine calculate the meeting and print basal, blazon, ablaze on the USDA report page. A feminist field guide. Among of the local relation of a girl to several surrounding beings, from the Old English and the crowd or company of. Among bobcat, big-eared bat, muskrat, moose, chipmunk, striped skunk, rockchuck, raccoon, cottontail, black bear, cougar, snowshoe hare, meadow vole, gray wolf, mule deer, masked shrew. Among deerfly, horsefly, paper wasp, hobo, swallowtail, jewel wing, praying mantis, painted lady, pine beetle, pine borer, box elder, black widow, western white cabbage, white twice stabbed lady. Among rainbow trout, stickleback, black crappie, largemouth bass, bluegill, brown bullhead, pumpkin seed, mountain sucker, whitefish, wally, white crappie, chinook and coho gone after the dam at Grand Coulee. Among western garter, snake, western skink, American bullfrog. Among Great Basin spadefoot. Among Columbia spotted frog. Among painted turtle, rattlesnake, northern leopard frog. Among western tiger, salamander, among Pacific tree frog. Among western skink, western bluebird, golden eagle, Pacific loon. Among cliff swallow, violet green swallow, great blue heron, Canadian goose. Among yellow warbler, red-winged blackbird, wood duck, rock wren. Among hermit, thrush, peregrine nighthawk, kestrel, merlin. Hawk, among thrush, among sparrow. Sparrow among woodpecker, among sapsucker, among grebe. Warbler among snipe, among blackbird, among sparrow. Finch among jay, among phoebe. With Phoebe, my sister, I grow, animal among animals, eye among eyes, gold leaf and clear glass, tessera, tesserae, O little eye, let in this light.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad you read both of them. Beautiful. What a just beautiful to hear those. Well, I can't believe we actually had time for everybody to read and with no glitches. So I don't know if anyone wants to add anything or, but it was just fantastic. It was so great to hear all your work. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I don't think we can do like a Q&A with Zoom, so or with the YouTube, but I just want to thank you. It was just fantastic hearing your work, and there's just the call went out for the next issue, and the theme is rivers, and I hope everyone on the screen and everyone listening will check that out and contribute, because so many of you are writing such strong environmental poems. I bet you have something about rivers. So thank you all, and that was just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So I really appreciate all of you.
Thank you, Marjorie.
All right, thank